bloody gate loomed, a formidable sentinel carved into the very stone of the Mountains of the Moon. Two long parapets stretched outward, embracing the high road that narrowed to allow only 4 riders abreast. Twin watchtowers, joined by a grey stone arch, stood vigilant, their arrow slits promising a deadly welcome to any uninvited guests. Beyond, a steep, rocky trail plummeted into the vale. Inside the gate's sturdy walls, ravens cooed from their roosts, and the scent of shaggy mountain horses mingled with the crisp mountain air. The fortification, capable of housing thousands, served as a crucial stronghold. Sir Donal Waynwood, the Knight of the Gate, a man with a weathered face and an air of quiet authority, greeted the weary travellers. "Who would pass the bloody gate?" he asked, his voice echoing in the chill morning. Then, recognizing Catelyn Stark, his expression softened with concern. "My lady, you should have sent word. The high road is no longer safe." Catelyn's gaze drifted over her diminished party. "We learned that to our sorrow, Sir Donal." The memory of the journey was a fresh wound. 6 men had fallen to bring her this far, 3 in the initial ambush, Larys and Chigan in the second, and Morrick, who had succumbed to a festering wound. Now, only Sir Roderick Cassel, Bronn, Marillion the Singer, Sir Willis Woade, Tyrion Lannister, and Catelyn herself remained. They had braced for death when Waynwood's men had first appeared, a large contingent of House Arryn's sworn swords. Sir Donal explained the growing unrest. Since Lord Jon Arryn's death, the Vale Mountain clans had grown bolder, their raids more frequent and violent. Lady Lysa Arryn, however, had forbidden any retaliatory action, a decision that baffled many. Catelyn chose not to reveal the truth, that her sister feared the Lannisters more than any mountain clan. She glanced at Tyrion, the dwarf. He rode freely, armed with a dirk and an axe, his shadow-skin cloak, won in a game of chance with Marillion, draped over his shoulders. His confidence, even in the presence of so many men loyal to House Arryn, unsettled Catelyn. Was she wrong to suspect him? His cunning was undeniable. Though her prisoner, he seemed to have manipulated his way to a semblance of freedom. "Sir Donal," Catelyn began, her voice edged with urgency, "when we arrive, please send for Maester Coleman. Sir Roderick is badly injured." A shadow crossed Sir Donal's face. "My lady, Lady Lysa has forbidden the Maester to leave the Eyrie, out of concern for young Lord Robert's health." He offered what comfort he could. "All I can promise is the attention of the Septon who tends to our garrison." As they finally passed through the bloody gate, the true splendour of the Vale of Arryn unfurled before Catelyn's eyes. Lush valleys stretched to the horizon, cradled by the majestic Mountains of the Moon. Towering peak known as the Giant's Lance soared miles above, its summit kissing the clouds. Beside Catelyn rode her uncle, Sir Brynden Tully the Blackfish, tall and lean, his once auburn hair now streaked with grey. His face was a tapestry of crags and wind-burnt lines. His eyes, a deep, laughing blue, surveyed the landscape with a seasoned warrior's keenness. His standard-bearer rode near, a banner depicting a black fish snapping in the wind. "There." Bryndon's hoarse, smoky voice cut through the air, the faint glimmer of the Eyrie 7 towers. He pointed to a distant speck on the side of the mountain. "We can reach the foot of the lance by evening." Sir Roderick, his face pale with pain, declared he could go no farther. Catelyn, seeing his weakened state, decided to leave the rest of her party behind. Marillion, ever the opportunist, piped up, "My lady, I beg to accompany you to the castle." Catelyn, still marvelling at how the singer had survived the journey that had claimed so many others, reluctantly agreed. Then Bronn, whose ferocious fighting had been instrumental in cutting their path to safety, declared, "I'm coming too." Catelyn bristled. She disliked the sellsword's mercenary nature and his lack of loyalty, and she yearned to separate him from Tyrion. But after allowing Marillion, she could not politely refuse. As they rode, Catelyn's gaze fell upon her uncle, Brynden, the Blackfish, a moniker earned from a spat with her father, Lord Hoster, when she was a child, was a man of quiet strength. Her father had called him the Black Goat of the Tully flock, and Brynden had retorted that their sigil was a fish, making him a black fish instead. He'd embraced the name, taking a black trout as his personal sigil, a stark contrast to the silver trout of House Tully, and even his obsidian and gold cloak clasp was in its shape. He was a kind man, she recalled, with the patience to listen, yet undeniably blunt and stubborn, caring little for the opinions of others. He was a veteran of countless battles, his movements precise and economical. Catelyn considered him brilliant. She remembered how close he had been to all the Tully children, even Peter Baelish, despite his long-standing feud with Lord Hoster. The feud had finally ended after her and Lysa's dual weddings to Eddard Stark and Jon Arryn, after which the Blackfish had left Riverrun to serve Jon Arryn in the Vale. He rode a grey horse, its coat mirroring the grey, heavy plate armour he wore as the Knight of the Gate, though he sometimes opted for mail and leather when commanding outriders. Catelyn recounted her harrowing tale to her uncle, the ambush on the King's Road, the poisoned scroll, the dead men. Brynden listened intently, his expression grim. "Your father must be warned," he declared once she finished. "Riverrun lies directly in the path of any Lannister attack." "What is the mood of the Vale?" Catelyn asked, her voice hushed. "There is anger, deep anger," Brynden replied, his voice a low rumble. "The suspicious death of the much-loved Lord Jon, the giving of the title of Warden of the East to Jaime Lannister, it chafes. Lysa insists everyone call young Robert Arryn the true Warden of the East." He then delivered more dire news. "The young Lord Robert is not well, Catelyn. He cries when his dolls are taken away. Some whisper he is too weak for the seat. Others suggest Nestor Royce, who ruled as High Steward, should continue to rule until Robert comes of age. There's talk of Lysa remarrying, but I believe she is merely playing at courtship, intending to rule herself." "A woman can rule as wisely as a man," Catelyn countered, a flicker of defiance in her eyes. "The right woman can," Brynden said, his gaze unwavering. "But not Lysa, the death of her husband, and before that, the stillborn and miscarried children. It has left her unstable, hysterically protective of her only child. Above all, she fears the Lannisters. And now you have brought a Lannister to her doorstep." "He is my prisoner," Catelyn insisted, gesturing toward Tyrion, who rode a few paces behind them. Brynden merely raised a brow. "He is not in chains, and he carries weapons, with a sellsword trailing him like a shadow. He is not here by choice. It was Lysa's letter that started this whole business." After traversing a winding valley embraced by the towering mountains, they reached the Gates of the Moon. High above the gatehouse, Catelyn could discern the looming mass of the mountain itself, and higher still, the faint silhouettes of the way towers, stone, snow, sky, and then the Eyrie, perched impossibly high. Tyrion, ever the cynic, jested, "If you plan to make me climb this mountain at night, you might as well just kill me now." "We will rest until morning," he was told. The dwarf peered up into the deepening twilight. "How does one even get up there?" "There are steps leading up the mountain, and trained mules that go as far as the way castle called Skye," he was informed. "Beyond that, the ascent is made on foot, or in the winch baskets that bring up supplies. The Eyrie is directly above Skye." Tyrion: "I decline the offer of being sent up in a basket. My father would not approve of me going up like a load of turnips if the others ascend on foot. Lannisters have a certain pride. Lannisters have arrogance, avarice, and a lust for power," Catelyn retorted. Tyrion feigned a wounded expression. "My father is the soul of avarice. Jaime has pride and Cersei lusts for power. But I, my lady, am innocent as a lamb. I will bleat for you." The portcullis of the Gates of the Moon creaked open, and they were met by Lord Nestor Royce, the High Steward. Brynden requested hospitality for the night. Lord Nestor, however, shook his head. "My Lady Catelyn has been instructed to go up tonight. The rest of you may have the hospitality of the castle." Brynden's face darkened with fury. A night ascent is too dangerous without a full moon. A young woman stepped forward, her dark eyes earnest. I am Maya Stone. No harm will come to Lady Catelyn, Sir Brynden. I have made 100 knight ascents. The surname Stone, the traditional name for bastards in the Vale, reminded Catelyn of Jon, and she found herself speechless. Lord Nestor, however, vouched for Maya. She has never failed me. Reluctantly, Catelyn agreed to the knight ascent. Maya Stone proved to be a skilled and confident guide. Torches only blind you on a clear night, she explained, as they began the long, winding path to the Eyrie in the dark. Michael Redfort, a squire I love, says I have the eyes of an owl. Catelyn knew the squire, being highborn, would never be allowed to marry a bastard. At each way tower, they switched to fresh mules. The first leg of the journey, though uphill, seemed manageable, but the next section was considerably steeper. At the second way tower, Maya explained, "It's called snow because hundreds of years ago, this was where the snow began." Catelyn, a Tully and a Stark, had always believed there was little in the world that could truly scare her. But as they had to lead the mules across a high, narrow saddle between two towering spires of rock, a crippling fear seized her. She froze, unable to move. Maya, sensing her distress, came back, taking Catelyn's hand and guiding her, blind and trembling, step by agonizing step, across the terrifying expanse. At Skye, the final way castle, Maya explained, "We must walk the last hour. The trail is more like a stone ladder." Catelyn, having travelled all day and the better part of a night, declared, "Having come this far, I will ride with the turnips instead." The Eyrie, though capable of housing 500 men, felt strangely empty. Catelyn was led directly to her sister's chambers, where Lysa, looking surprisingly rested despite her plump and pale complexion, offered a strained welcome. The moment Sir Vardis Egan and Maester Coleman left, however, Lysa's forced calm shattered. She launched into a furious tirade, accusing Catelyn of involving her in the Lannister conflict by bringing Tyrion to the Eyrie. "It was you who sent me the letter, Lysa," Catelyn shot back, her voice rising, "naming the Lannisters as my husband's murderers." Lysa flinched. "It was a warning, Catelyn, a warning to avoid them, not to fight them." Young Lord Robert, clutching a doll, appeared in the doorway, roused by his mother's escalating tone. Lysa's anger melted away as she scooped him into her arms. "Robert, my sweetling, this is your Aunt Catelyn." She cradled him, her voice sickeningly sweet. "He is a beautiful, strong child, Catelyn. Do not believe the stories." Lysa then insisted that her husband, on his deathbed, had declared, "The seed is strong," as proof of their son's vitality. Catelyn tried to redirect the conversation to the urgent matter of war preparations, but Lysa shushed her, claiming such talk would frighten Robert. To Catelyn's shock, Lysa then exposed her breast, and the 6-year-old boy, with an almost feral urgency, latched on and began to suckle. The sight made Catelyn think of her youngest son, Rickon, who was half Robert's age and 5 times as fierce. She pressed Lysa again urgently to discuss war. Stroking her son's hair, Lysa replied, "Even if the Lannisters could bring an army up here, Catelyn, everyone says the Eyrie is impregnable." It was then that Catelyn fully understood her uncle Brynden's attempts to warn her about Lysa's fragile state. "What am I to do with Tyrion?" Lysa asked, her eyes darting to Catelyn. Young Robert, his face still pressed to his mother's breast, piped up, "Is he a bad man?" "He is," Lysa replied, a wicked glint in her eyes. "Make him fly," the boy said, his voice small and cold. Lysa smiled, stroking her son's hair. "Perhaps," she mused, her gaze fixed on Catelyn, "perhaps that is just what we will do."